I thought I'd make a series of videos to pass on tips and tricks and bits and pieces that I've learned over many years of learning to play the guitar, and I'm still learning. But I started learning back in the day before the internet and before YouTube, so I had to try and figure a lot of things out myself just from listening to records. And you know, you quite often see or hear a lick or something that catches your ear and you think, oh, I'd like to be able to play that, but how do they do that? A lot easier these days. You can try and look it up on YouTube. So I thought I'd gather a few of the things I've picked up which I think will be useful if you're at the beginner stage, or perhaps more likely the beginners plus stage. You've learned a few chords and you're starting to move along fairly quickly after that, and you've encountered the dreaded bar chord and conquered that one, and your fingertips calluses are developing. I guess that's the target audience roughly. In this series of videos, if there's things that, yeah, I know that, okay, forget it, move on to the next one. But otherwise, let's make a start. So the bit of music that I played at the beginning was me noodling around with the magic of the E chord, or more accurately, the magic of the E major chord, played at the first position, thus. And all I was doing was using that same fingering and moving it up and down the fretboard, and it makes some really nice sounds. I'm not, caveat number one, I'm not a trained musician. I did try to teach myself how to read music, and I can read it very slowly. No good for sight reading at all, but I know a little bit enough to get myself into trouble. And so I tend to see chords and the fretboard in terms of pictures. So I can't say to you after all these years, I'm a bit embarrassed, I suppose, should I say, that I haven't learnt all the fretboard. But it doesn't worry me, because I can work things out. I know the shortcuts and the way to do things. And as I say, I've got a memory that sees things in pictures, in terms of pictures of where your hands should be, and so on and so on. So I've never had any formal teaching, so I apologise, caveat number two, that in these series of videos I might pass on some dirty habits that your guitar teacher, if you're lucky enough to have one, would say, he's told you what? So we'll go on to the first one of those, and that is, I don't play the E chord how you see it in the books when you're first starting to play, when you're learning the cowboy chords, as they're sometimes unfairly called, down at the first position. E, D, A, G, you know all those. They spell C-A-G-E-D, caged. Topic for a future video? I think so. So, what did I change? Well, as I was getting to do the bar chord thing, which involves getting a bit of strength up in your forefinger, playing the E chord like that, where my little finger is free to waggle about as if I'm having a cup of tea, But when you come to move up and then you have to do a bar chord, well, your forefinger's already occupied. So I changed the fingering around from this to that. So now, playing E major at the first position like that, I've got my forefinger free. So if I want to move up then to an A chord using the E chord shape, all I have to do is lower my forefinger and I'm there. And to this day, I play that chord in that way with a forefinger that can waggle, so I can still point at things. Okay, so whether that's a thing you already do, but hopefully it's a trick I think you'll find is quite useful. So that's the magic, if you like, of the open E major chord shape, that you can try it. It's easy to do. You don't have to do any bar chords. Just move the shape up and down and experiment. I mean, your ears will tell you, trust your ears. If you play it there, not sure about that. If you just experiment and you can learn what sounds good, what sounds bad. The other technique I latched onto pretty early was to adopt the method that I know Joe Brown, who's an English guitarist of note from the 60s, he's still with us I believe, noticed he was touring with Eddie Cochran, and he saw Eddie Cochran use his thumb over the top of the neck onto the fretboard just to hold the sixth string down instead of doing a bar chord. Now it can all depend on how big your hands are. Mine are not small, but it's medium I suppose, so I found it a lot easier to use the thumb technique, and also I don't have to crank myself down in an awkward position to do a bar chord. I can keep my hand just pretty straight. So again, experiment, because not all guitarists do it. I don't think I've ever seen Eric Clapton put his thumb over the fretboard, but then he's got more lithe fingers than me, so it can depend very much on what the size of your hand is in relative to the guitar neck. So give it a try. If it's comfortable, work on it, keep it in. As I say, it only holds down one string, but it certainly takes the weight off of doing a full bar chord. Can you play or get any magic out of the other major C, A, G, E, D chords? I mean, I've just played that improv just based on the E shape. But yeah, you can. Try it with D. Again, use your ears. Take the normal first position D chord and then just move it up. You can move it all the way up to its octave. Now, I very frequently use that playing in the band. If we're playing a country song, and if we're playing it in D, that sort of peaceful, easy feeling, or when you're playing the D, if you're playing the rhythm guitar, it's a nice chord at the octave. A works, A shape. So it's very popular. David Gilmour was saying in a recent YouTube video that playing those sort of chiming chords with open strings has enabled him to write some of their most memorable songs. So try it yourself. Practice. Practice may not make perfect, but it makes for a lot of experimentation. So don't be afraid to experiment. Move those shapes that you've painstakingly learned at the first position and transpose them. Use your ear to know if they're any good. They're not dissonant. All done with the E major shape. And who knows, you might find that a melody appears in your head, and as Woody Allen said, the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get, and that's certainly very true in the pop industry. Okay, I think that's it for today. The magic of the E major chord. Give me any comments down below, even if it's to say, God, you don't have to drone on. I know I'm prone to digress now and then. But that's the way my brain works. It goes ping, ping, pinball machine. So I hope that's been useful, and I'll see you on the next video.